Khoi is Associate Professor at Islamic Azad University, North Dagestan branch. She received her PhD in Tufts from Islamic Azad University, Dagestan, Higher Education and Research Complex in 1997. She became a faculty member in 1992 and has been teaching various courses in the field of TOEFL at BA, MA, and PhD levels for 29 years. She has supervised more than 100 MA theses and written and translated more than 40 books and papers. She is also the supervisor of the translation departments of Sadra Islamic Philosophy Institute and the Iranology Foundation. Presently, she is the head of the foreign language faculty of the electronic campus of Islamic Azad University.
Okay, thank you very much for introducing me. I am not going to talk about, and it's an honor to be here and to talk to all of you. I wish there was a chance that I could see all of you nice people in person. Unfortunately, this year was not possible for me to travel to Italy. Well, as you can see, my presentation is about voiceovers, the use of voiceovers as good teacher assistants in online CLIL courses. But before studying this presentation, I need to provide some explanation regarding the context of this research, which requires some clarification because well, the situation was quite unnormal. It was the January of 2 years ago when the pandemic started. All of a sudden, we had to close the universities. And there is a great digital divide in my country. It means that there are some sections of the country where the students have access to highly advanced technological affordances, but there are other sections in the country in which the whole class uses just one mobile phone in order to study online. And during the past 2 years, all the classes have been held online. Therefore, the digital divide at the beginning created a very big problem. I have been attending this conference for 10 years, and all the time I have been using some fancy software and some fancy application alongside as side dish, in fact, in order to furnish my teaching in the class at the university. But I never thought that there comes a day that I have to use certain website LMSs and platforms in order to conduct the whole burden of this, to carry the whole burden of the study. So the universities were closed. Our students were not familiar with the software that were useful for language teaching and language study in TOEFL courses. Just a few of them were familiar, and many of them did not have access to high quality digital devices. We knew that after 10 days, we had to start our online classes, and they introduced the Adobe Connect, but our students were not even familiar with the Adobe Connect. Because I didn't want my students to lag behind the course, I didn't want them to lose anything. I started thinking about a good technique that we use so that we could keep them busy. That is why I thought about voiceovers, and I immediately contacted one of my MA students and proposed this as the topic of her MA so that I could collect the data and she could write the theoretical basis for it. But today I'm going to talk about the practical aspects of the work. Well, so the world has faced multiple severe crises in different areas of language education. And as all of you know, this crisis has brought about new challenges and responsibilities. A lot of challenges, and as teachers, we are responsible to deal with challenges, and the same goes with the students. However, we could look at it as an extraordinary opportunity for learning about new things and upgrading our capabilities and channel our skills in new directions. A must in the area of digital learning for learners is to become autonomous, to work on their own because they do not have access to face-to-face classes. They do not have access to teachers. That is why they should learn to work on their own when it is necessary. And learning resources, fortunately, in online classes are free from time and place restrictions, and the learners have control over the pace of the learning process. Therefore, when some complicated software or luxurious, I call them designer software or designer applications, are not necessary, we have to think about some delicate techniques in order to make our classes more useful. We conducted this study in a CLIL context. What was the context? The students were all MA students. They were studying their testing, measurement, and statistics course with me. And well, you know, in CLIL courses, we integrate content and language, and it is practiced all over the world at different levels, especially at the universities. And in such courses, the students learn the language and the subject matter at the same time. We try to make it, to do it in a context that looks as natural as possible. I asked a question about the use of first language in the class because normally we do not use any first language in the class. In my online classes, I understood that when we do not use the first language, the students feel highly insecure. Well, one of the variables of the study was PowerPoint presentation, which is normally used by teachers in both online classes and in face-to-face classes. We are all aware of the advantages of PowerPoint presentation. Through them, we can create audiovisual effects while teaching. They are highly effective in freezing students' attention and interest. They make the teaching more appealing and motivating. However, there are two positions as to the use of PowerPoints in the class. Some believe that it is highly supportive of the learning process, but some accuse it of playing a significantly negative role because they say that the students and teachers become too much dependent on the use of PowerPoint slides, and then they do not develop fluency. Without them, they are not capable of presenting a speech without using their fluency. Whether it is online or offline, we need to employ certain strategies in order to make our slides more attractive and sustain the attention of the learners. The students download these styles, and in this way we can promote their autonomy, which is in fact one of the principles of blended learning and online teaching. What we did with the slides, the solution that came to my mind in order to help the students to go ahead and not to lose any time, because actually the students pay a lot of money as tuition in my university. It is not free. That is why I wanted them to make the best use of the class. That is why I came up with the idea of voiceovers. What are voiceovers? They're slides with added voice of the teacher. They're good for different learning styles and preferences. They provide better cognitive-based personalization in learning because the students can listen to them as many times as they want at their own pace. They convey richer understanding. They promote learning outcomes more efficiently, and they can be used as self-study packages, which is very good because when the students were in their houses far from the physical classes, they were capable of using them as review sources. Now, what was the research question? To what extent does the use of voiceover versus teacher presented mute slides affects L2 learners' achievement in CLIL courses? Well, first I will go to the participants. The participants of our study consisted of 28 male and female graduate students between 22 and 40 years of age. They were in 2 intact classes, 14 students in each class, which were randomly assigned to 2 experimental groups. Experimental group 1 used the voiceover slides, and experimental group 2 used the mute slides. What did we do in each class? Well, first of all, I should tell you that there was no pretest because the students had no pre-knowledge of advanced testing, measurement, and statistics course. They hadn't passed any courses in this regard beforehand, and the conditions also did not allow us to give them a pre-test, and the result would not have been, wouldn't have added anything to my knowledge, because I knew that I had previous experience with the same students and I knew about their background knowledge. So no pretest was given, and the conditions of coronavirus and lack of time did not allow us to give them the pretest. Actually, many of the students had studied non-language related courses before coming to their TEFL major. The students had no pre-knowledge of the course content or pretest. We continued the treatment for 6 sessions. Now you might say, why only 6 sessions? Because we only taught 2 chapters of the book through the use of voiceover. Each session was 90 minutes. Why only 2 chapters? First of all, the chapters were very long. We taught each chapter in 3 sessions. Second, we didn't know whether the use of voiceovers was good or not. And if it proved to be unuseful, inefficient, then we would have wasted the time of the students. The titles of the 2 chapters, one of them was language testing eras and language testing eras. The other one, the test construction procedure. These are 2 important topics in the area of language testing and evaluation. We use Adobe Connect in order to teach the class. Experimental Group 1 studied 12 mute slides every session. They were mute, but the teacher presented them in the class, and the students could ask their questions, receive feedback, and study them at home. We did not provide any instruction to Experimental Group 2, but we just sent them the voiceover slides through the WhatsApp application, because all of them had access to WhatsApp. We didn't teach the slides in the class at all. We said you need to study these 2 chapters yourself by the use of voiceover slides. However, they could come to the class and ask questions if they had any. At the end of the semester, after the 2 sessions, after 6 sessions, when the 2 chapters finished, we gave a post-test to the students in order to see whether there was a statistically significant difference between the performances of the 2 groups at the end of the study. Now, what were the post-tests, in fact? First of all, we gave them a 30-item teacher-made post-test, 10 multiple choice items, and 3 open-ended questions. And when I say open-ended, they were really open-ended and creative. I should add that each slide was recorded by my own voice. After the post-test, we gave them a 32-item multiple choice Likert scale questionnaire in order to learn about their attitude to the use of voiceovers in the class. Well, the results of the post-test revealed no statistically significant difference between the mean scores of the 2 groups on the post-test. It means that the class that received the mute slides taught to them in the class received exactly the same mean score or performed, as well as the class that received the voiceover slides without the teaching of the class. So it showed the efficiency of voiceover class, especially when time is not enough for the teaching of everything by the teacher. Then there was the questionnaire. We say the researcher had no access to the similar questionnaire that my student, because nobody had done this before. I helped her a lot to design the questionnaire with 32 questions. Of course, I'm sure that there are lots of problems, a few problems maybe with the questionnaire, because it was the first in its own type. The Cronbach-Halfel reliability of the attitude questionnaire was 0.68, which is satisfactory for exploratory research. It means that for the first time of its usage, it was okay. And given the fact that the number of students was very limited, because only the voiceover experimental group received the questionnaire, only 14 students, so 0.68 could be a good starting point. Then a number of quantitative and qualitative measures were taken to analyze and interpret the data. At the end, when we scored the questionnaires, we found out that the majority of the students voted for the benefits of the voiceovers, and they revealed a positive attitude to the use of voiceover in the class. In general, from a conceptual point of view, the questions in the questionnaire can be divided into 4 categories: advantages of voiceovers, disadvantages of voiceovers, their supplementary role, and the students' ideas about the way they should be prepared. Examples for advantages are the students said whether they made them autonomous or not, they made them more self-confident, they provided the chance for them to review the lesson several times. They could make up for their absence in the class because the voiceovers were available and they could go over them several times. And they said that they could use voiceovers whenever and wherever. These are just samples of the advantages, not all of them. For disadvantages, they said that they are not good because we don't have access to the body language of the teacher. They are boring. Could be, of course, a few of the students chose them. Some of them chose the option of learning in the classroom rather than using voiceovers. They said listening to them is time consuming and they wanted to have eye contact with the teacher, but voiceovers did not provide this chance for the students. When it came to the supplementary role of voiceovers, they said that they preferred to use them in combination with face-to-face interactions to have discussion regarding the slides in face-to-face classes and in online classes. However, they missed social interactions in the class, but they emphasized that voiceovers could prepare them for exams and they are very useful in that regard. Some of the students said that they preferred the voiceover slides to be prepared by the professors. Of course, the majority of the students wanted their professor to create the voiceovers. An equal number of the students, a minority, said that they wanted the voiceovers to be prepared by the classmates, and another minority said that they liked to use the voiceovers to create the voiceovers themselves, but the majority said that they wanted their professor to prepare them for them. The questionnaire results showed that the majority of the respondents chose agree and strongly agree in order to answer to the 32 questions of the study, which shows their positive attitude towards the use of self-study voiceovers for the first time of using such supplementary material in the class. We were quite satisfied with the outcome. Now, what was the conclusions that we derived? Voiceovers can successfully substitute teacher presence. They function as efficiently as teacher presented mute slides in the class. The students have a positive attitude towards the use of voiceovers, and they can be a good substitute for the teacher when face-to-face or online classes were not available during the first year that the corona started. Of course, after that, we became prepared, we developed LMSs, and now we are using a website which is very much similar to this one. Still, the students like the use of voiceovers in my class for some chapters. The overall findings highlight the value of teaching with voiceovers. Of course, here we have no intention of introducing voiceovers as absolute substitute for teachers. Rather, we believe that using a mixture could be really useful. That is why we advise incorporating voiceovers as assistants and not substitute. And there is a lot, I don't know if I have time or not. Do I have time?
No, unfortunately, no.
No? Okay.
No, unfortunately, no.
Thank you. So this was the end of the last slide. I just wanted to say that there is a website, VoiceThread, that enables teachers to upload voiceover slides, and it is used by many universities in the world. Unfortunately, it is not free, and we have to pay money to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there some questions?